Mari mythology. Source of publication, Wikipedia. Mari mythology is a complex of mythological beliefs of the Mari people, the Meadow, Eastern, Northwestern, and Mountain peoples. It is part of the common Proto-Uralic and Finno-Ugric mythology. Mari mythology is the basis for the formation of the Mari traditional religion. Mari myths are simultaneously close to Udmurt and Mordvin myths. History of study. The first evidence of Mari mythology dates back to the 16th century. Austrian diplomat Sigismund von Herberstein, in his Notes on Muscovy, asserts that the Cheremiss profess the Muslim faith. Polish writer Aleksander Giovannini, in his Description of Muscovy, makes an important addition, stating that some Cheremiss are pagans. In the work of Adam Olearius, a detailed description of the journey of the Holstein embassy to Muscovy and Permia in 1633 and 1639, it is said that the Cheremiss worship the sun, fire, water, the moon, a single, immortal god, as well as the devil, whose idol temple is located on the Nemda River, and spirits to whom propitiatory sacrifices are made. Of particular interest is the description of Cheremiss mythology and rituals by the Dutch explorer Jan Struijs, who visited Russia in 1668 to 1669. In addition to mentioning the cult of the sun, fire, water, and belief in evil spirits, Struijs notes the existence among the Cheremiss of crude and vague notions of a supreme god, an invisible being with a royal court. In some ways, the ethnographic notes on the Cheremiss by the Dutchman N. Whitson, who published his work, Northern and Eastern Tartary, in 1692, are unique. In addition to the Cheremiss being pagans, the traveler notes the Mary's worship of trees and idols, including animals on pine poles. It is noted that the Cheremiss venerate animals they see in dreams. The traditions of cremation and drowning of the dead in water are also mentioned. Echoing the information of Aeoliarius, N. Whitson describes the sacrificial rite in detail, noting that the Cheremiss place a flint and an axe in the grave of the dead, so that in the afterlife they can light a fire and build a dwelling. The Lord's Prayer in the Mari language gives N. Whitson's text particular value. The works of 18th-century scientists N. P. Richkov, G. F. Miller, P. S. Pallas, I. G. Georgi are characterized by greater completeness and diversity of information. Mari mythology itself became an object of study in the 19th century. Among the most prominent researchers of this period were A. Fuchs, A. I. Yemachev, S. L. Troitsky, A. R. Filomonov, V. M. Cheremshansky, and P. V. Znamensky. In 1862, S. A. Nerminsky's Essay on the Religious Beliefs of the Cheremiss was published, in which the author examines the cult of the god Vadish and also recounts the myth of Yamo's daughter. In 1877, the Chuvash scholar N. I. Zalotnitsky published a brochure, The Invisible World According to the Shamanic Beliefs of the Cheremiss. S. K. Kuznetsov and G. Yakovlev also devoted specialized works to Mari mythology. I. N. Smirnov devoted significant space to Mari mythology in his monograph, The Cheremiss, a historical and ethnographic essay. The peak of activity in the study and description of Mari mythology occurred in the second half of the 19th and mid-20th centuries. Thanks to the efforts of Hungarian and Finnish scholars such as E. Back, A. Genots, V. Porka, J. Wichman, G. Ramsted, S. Samir, H. Pasanen, and U. Holmberg, numerous archaic Mari tales, legends, spells, prayers, and songs have been preserved. At the very end of the 19th century, works by Mari authors began to appear. One such example is P. Yaroslanov's article, An Essay on the Life and Legends of the Eastern Cheremiss. The works of the distinguished Russian philologist V. I. Filonenko occupied an important place in the study of Mari mythology in the first decade of the 20th century. At the end of the 1920s, a number of articles and books by the Mari scientist V. M. Vasilyev, dedicated to Mari mythology, were published. The works of G. Likachev, N. M. Maturin, M. G. Markalev, and I. V. Zykov were of some importance. In 1956, American linguists T. Shabak and F. Ingerman published a monograph, Cheremiss Studies, The Supernatural. The authors created a kind of encyclopedia of Mari mythology. Mari folklorists have contributed greatly to the study of Mari mythology. K. A. Chetkarev and V. A. Aktsorin recorded and commented on new texts of fairy tales, legends, traditions, and songs. Of great significance were N. S. Kapustin's dissertation, Vestiges of Ancient Religious Beliefs and the Struggle Against Them. Based on materials from the Mari Assr, N.F. Mokshan's monograph, Religious Beliefs of the Mordvins, which compared Mordvin and Mari gods, and A.F. Yargan's brochure, Modern Manifestations of Pre-Christian Mari Beliefs. Since the early 1980s, a new surge of interest in Mari mythology and religion has continued to this day. Works by V.A. Aktsorin, V.Ya. Petrukin, and S.A. Tokarev have been published. Mari mythology has become a special focus for researchers such as U.A. Kaliev, N.S. Popov, T.A. Molodova, V.A. Korshunkov, N.M. Akotina, O.V. Danilov, A.A. Stepanova, K.I. Sitnikov, L.S. Toydabakova, G.E. Skalina, R.A. Saburov, N.V. Mushkina, R.R. Sadikov, and others. Cosmogonic myths. Most Mari cosmogonic myths originate from the so-called Proto-Uralic cosmogonic myth, in which a bird diving for the earth plays a decisive role in its creation. However, a separate version of the Mari cosmogonic legend includes relics of the creation myth of the world from an egg. Moreover, in this version, birds participate jointly in extracting earth from the bottom of the primordial ocean. A duck flew from her nesting place, Ludo Pishash, to the bosom of the primordial ocean. She laid 2 eggs and hatched them under her wings. From these eggs, 2 drake brothers, Yumo and Yyyn, were born. Then, taking turns diving underwater, they scooped up earth from the ocean floor in their beaks. The earth Yumo scooped up formed a smooth surface. Yyyn, however, choked and spat out saliva along with the earth. This is how mountains, lakes, and swamps arose on the earth. Then Yuma began striking sparks from the heavenly stone with his hammer, and the Sakshi, Shaitans, flew. Karame spied on him at this time, and when Yuma fell asleep, he also began striking sparks, and his own Sakshi, Shaitans, flew. A Mari myth has survived that tells how the earth originally lay underwater. Then the land separated from the water, and spruce forests arose on the dry land. In the forests, giants called Onars were born, and then, finally, humans. There's also a version similar to the Udmurt myth, Mountains and Valleys. It assigns the leading role in the creation of the earth not to water, but to wind. Thus, in the anthropological myth, on the origin of man, it is said, previously, the entire earth lay on water. There was no dry land, they said. But then, gradually, the water thickened and turned into earth. After this, a very strong wind arose. The earth, like the wind, began to move. Thus, the Lemda River, islands, and seas appeared on the surface of our earth. Little by little, dry soil and solid patches of land formed. Translated from Mar. By Elikayev A.S. 2021. The structure of the world. The pillar of the universe is Kava Shudir, or Moska Shudir, around which are located the constellations of Shordo, Moose, Yuxo, Swan, Ludo Pishash, Duck's Nest, Paisalvondo, Rowan Bush, Tulvi, Torch, and others. The following lines can be found in folk poetry. The swan flies, looking at the heavenly spindle. The cuckoo flies, looking at the lake. Another enduring image in Mari mythology is that of Kava Menj. Kava Menj can also be represented as a pillar of fire, iron, silver, or gold. The expression, a silver pillar rising from the center of the earth, appears in incantation texts. Folk poetry about Kava Menj says, a swan flying in the sky. Resting, sitting on the heavenly pillar. The constellation of the elk was located in close proximity to the celestial pillar. A Mari myth has survived, according to which the Big Dipper is a moose with her cubs and a hunter with her dog. The latter are condemned to circle the sky forever for having killed the former. V.V. Napolskek believes that the myth of the sky is the lid of a rotating bowl around the heavenly nail of the North Star. The myth of hunting the heavenly elk are widely represented among all the Uralic peoples and the peoples of Siberia. The upper world was considered the residence of the gods, primarily the creator Yumo, where no one could enter. Yumo resides behind an iron fence, on a golden throne, from where he oversees all human affairs. The supreme god himself made the gusli. Playing them while seated on a cloud, he then passed them on to the people. The image of Kuga Tumo, on which the god Yumo resides, is widespread. Tumo Vion is also known. Originally, the word, Jumo, in the Finnish languages meant, sky, and it is still used in this sense in some contexts. such as Jumo Volgaltla, meaning the sky is clearing, Jumo Uklana, meaning the sky is thundering, Jumo Blaze, meaning the sky is in the clouds, and in compound words, Umanudir, meaning horizon, and Uminluleg, meaning the universe. Later, it came to denote the supreme deity, Uminkwi, meaning altar, and Uminpundash, meaning sky. The wind is Jumo's breath, and the rainbow is his battle bow. Pursuing evil spirits in thunderclouds, Jumo, riding across the sky in a chariot with fiery horses, hurls stones and lightning bolts into the sky. With his golden cap, Jumo illuminates the world, and with a huge hammer, he strikes sparks, creating angels. Later, Yumo turns into a wealthy farmer with a rich farm and a lot of livestock. Working from dawn to dusk, he demands the same from his daughter Umanudir and son Uminurge. Some objects of the upper world are directly related to the image of the supreme deity. Yumin Shudir, wings of Yumo. Yumin Kudo, Yumo's home. Yumin Tool, fire Yumo. Yumin Kudo Pesh, the fence of Yumo's dwelling. Yumin Yuskal, cow Yumo. Yumin Sotar, war Yumo. Yumin Ener, river Yumo, as well as swings lowered through a hole in the sky by the gods Lengyo. A kind of intermediary between earth and heaven is a certain mountain on which grows a tall tree. This is usually a pine or the mythical, silver spruce. One can climb this tree to heaven. The land of the gods can also be reached by boat, crossing the sea. The tops of trees were originally thought to be the abode of the gods, as well as the luminaries. According to some beliefs, the gods reside at the edge of the earth, behind a curtain-like canopy. The surface of this canopy is covered with holes. Through these holes, people see the stars, the sun, and the moon. In the sky itself is the god's abode, complete with an apple orchard. The Yumo family includes Yumin Ava, Emland Ava, Shakan Ava, as well as Kudercho Yumo and Volgench Yumo. The lower world is represented by the water and underground worlds. As the Finnish Mari religious scholar H. Holmberg noted, the water spirits, represented by the figures of Yamsho and Vudavi, who lived in the deepest pools, had their own underwater homes, families, farms, and livestock. This created a unique parallel with the heavenly economy of Yumo. The path to the afterlife lay across a high icy mountain, which could only be crossed with the help of a raven. The entrance to the afterlife was guarded by vicious dogs or even a hideous, shaggy bear chained to a rock. The chasms were teeming with snakes. The demonic Shem Kishki was particularly prominent. According to some researchers, Mari myths also retained Proto-Uralic beliefs about the underworld, where the enemy of the supreme god was imprisoned. Thus, Yumo and Kiamat entered the underworld through a hole in the ground. As in the beliefs of the Ob-Ugrians, the Mari underworld was sealed off from the world of the living by a stone. Continuing the traditions of Proto-Ural mythology, the horizontal projection of the world includes the demonized north, home to the evil spirits of the bear and wolf, as well as the icy realm of the afterlife. Opposite this is the world of the gods, primarily the abode of Yumo himself, also called Shosho Yumo, meaning the spring god, the spring warmth. In the celestial sphere, the southern side is defined by the Wild Goose Road. The western part has a neutral status, but is sometimes designated as the land of the Mari ancestors, from where they subsequently expanded into the area between the Vetluga and Vyatka rivers. On the far eastern edge are the Kameni Gori, the Ural Mountains, the Yul, the Volga River, and the lands beyond the Vicha, the Vyatka River. These areas are typically occupied by the Nar giants, the Odo foreign tribes, the Ovda forest people, or even the Pieners, the dog-nosed people. Anthropogonical myths. Relics of fetishism, animism, and totemism. It is believed that Kuga Yumo created the earth, people, forests, water, livestock, and all animals in a single week, giving them all their names. While Kuga Yumo created beneficial animals and birds, Karame created amphibians, insects, worms, chaotic elemental forces, and harmful spirits. And on that same day, Kuga Yumo molded man from clay, imbuing his creation with a dense horny shell that could protect him from fire and water, heat and cold, animal claws and teeth, illness and misfortune, making him not only beautiful and healthy but also practically immortal. However, the man remained lifeless, as his body lacked a soul. Only the soul could give a person life energy, consciousness, and intelligence. While Kuga Yummo was searching for the soul, Karame decided to interfere with the deity and make his own adjustments to his creation. But the dog, left by the god to guard the man's lifeless body, did not allow Karame near it. Then the evil spirit unleashed a cold spell and persuaded the shivering dog to allow him near the man, gifting him with fur in exchange. To assert his power over the man, Karame spat on him. Yummo, who had returned with the soul, had no choice but to turn the man's soiled body inside out, causing Karame's impurities to end up inside the man's body. The protective covering also disappeared, remaining only on the tips of the fingers and toes in the form of nails. As a result, the man forever lost his immortality, became susceptible to disease, and became dependent on the vagaries of the weather. Kuga Yummo cursed the dog for its criminal dereliction of duty. In these stories, researchers believe, Mari myths were influenced by folk Christian beliefs. More original is the myth of the appearance of humans following the giant Onars in the forests, as well as the legend of the origin of the first human couples from the union of Tun Yummo and Shakan Ava. Tun Yummo, before meeting Shakan Ava, had to endure an arduous ordeal, traveling a vast distance, walking day and night, subsisting only on raw elk meat. Upon meeting Shakan Ava, they bathed in the river at precisely noon, instantly producing 6 men and an equal number of women. Shakan Ava united them in pairs, giving rise to the first human families and peoples. In gratitude for the creation of humans, the mythical elk bestowed upon these progenitors elk antlers, on which was inscribed God's command, for people to multiply, for nations to grow in numbers. Relics of fetishistic, animistic, and totemic beliefs, apparently dating back to the Finno-Ugric and Uralic communities, are preserved in the legend of people being transformed into burnt stumps and the belief in the deity Pushenga Shakan Ava, the tree-bearer. This deity patronized the birth and growth of trees. The Mari also believed in a special connection between trees and human souls. Like all Uralic peoples, they revered personal trees and doppelgangers. Certainly, an ancient relic is the belief that after death, the human soul transforms into a fish. There was also the concept of a doppelganger, a shadow, or a ghost spirit, ort, which leaves the body in times of fear, terror, or sleep. According to I. Georgi, the Mari had a patron spirit, Kudovodas. This spirit lived in the summer kitchen, Kudo, an archaic structure similar to the Udmurt Kwale shrine. A separate section, called Izi Kudo, was specially fenced off for Kudovodas. A wooden doll representing Kudovodas was kept in a birch bark box inside. Among the Mari spirits, various mujos were distinguished, spirits that inflicted illnesses. Mujos could serve as subordinate spirits in the staffs of certain deities. According to U.A. Kaliev, the Mari of Bashkiria identified mujos with natural objects and certain animal species. The myth also explains the origin of the Milky Way, Kayak Combo Corno. In ancient times, a severe cold began to set in. Wild geese flew by the thousands, fleeing the cold for warmer climes. Toward midday, cold and dark nights pursued them. Some geese grew tired from the long flight and fell behind their flock. To ensure that the tired and stragglers found their flock, the strong geese left their white downy feathers in the sky. This is how the wild goose trail was formed. Rested geese would follow these feathers to catch up with their flock. This is how they found the main flock's resting place in the southern regions. To this day, wild geese still follow this route in the autumn, flying to warmer climates. Echoes of ancient totemic legends are preserved in a number of Mari animal tales, explaining, for example, the long beak of the sandpiper and the split lip of the hare. There are myths about the cohabitation of maidens with bears and the swan maiden Yuktalch. In a popular Mari tale, a bear, perched on the top of a spruce tree, attempts to light a torch from the moon. Traditional Mari names such as Vaish, Porbos, Puzhi, Pixon, Varash, and others derive from the names of animals: duck, deer, wolf, and hawk. Vestiges of totemic beliefs are present in a number of rituals. For example, the Mari traditionally baked a special ritual cake, Urimdo Kogolyo, which they treated to in the forest by inviting a chipmunk. Because of the stripes on its back, the chipmunk was considered favored by the creator himself. V.M. Vasiliev noted that married men in the village of Tumen would gather with their wives once a year in the house, where they would bake pies from chopped owl meat and eat them after a prayer. The scholar suggests that the owl may have once been revered by the Mari as a totem, a guardian of the family hearth and its well-being. According to teacher S. Sanikov, the Mari once had separate groves for dove sacrifices. It was believed that half of a dove's body was made of human flesh, and the other half of its body was made of pigeon flesh. Ethnogenic myths and myths about cultural heroes. According to a Mari myth, recorded by S. Nerminsky in the mid-19th century, God had a daughter, a very beautiful one, and there were no suitors in heaven, only angels. God was a hard worker. He didn't keep workers. He worked himself and sent his daughter to graze the cattle. There is no grass in heaven, so it was necessary to descend to the earth. God sent his daughter down there along with the cattle. He opens the sky, spreads out a swing so that it reaches the ground, and lowers his daughter down to the earth. Having climbed down, she cries, "Do, do, do," and the horses come down. She cries to the cows, "Tipruna, tipruna," and the cows come down. The cows come down, she cries to the sheep, "Santa, sta, Santa," and the sheep come down. And in the evening she cries out to the sky, "Father, lower the swing, I need to go home, I have grazed the cattle." God opens the sky again, lowers the swing, and she climbs into the sky, and then calls all the cattle. The daughter of God, the legend continues, grazed and grazed the cattle, walked and walked, but there were still no suitors. One day she came down to earth and saw a young man. She talked to him and gave him a kerchief. At the same time, she taught the groom, "Look, my father is God. He will not give me up. You better pick comrades and take me away, and I will take another kerchief and hang it somewhere on a pole. He will see this kerchief and will look for me. If he does not find me, he will say, 'She died.'" And so they did. God looked for her for a long time, did not find her and thought that she was dead. 2 years later, they came to their father and told him the whole truth. They made peace, and there was a great feast. God gave them a large dowry. From that time on, God became acquainted with people. Other versions of the myth also tell how, at a wedding feast, Karame, having become so drunk that he quarreled with his son-in-law, threw the unfortunate man from the sky. From the latter's shattered body, sacred birch and oak trees grew. But Karame was not destined to triumph. The enraged Yamo threw his brother from the sky. The Mari also know the myth of the earthly bride of the heavenly groom. Yamo's son, human urge, descends to earth and marries a girl, with whom he ascends to heaven. Similar stories exist in Mordvin mythology. In texts recorded in the Mari language, the god's daughter is often named Piambrar or Puyersho. She becomes Kugarak's bride, seduced by the beautiful clothing of the tribal chieftain. According to the legend about the origin of the Mari people, the Mari are the descendants of the daughter of the god Eula and the first man Mari. It is traditionally believed that the Mari myths of the cultural hero were replaced by East Slavic apocryphal tales about the deeds of the Christian god. However, K.A. Chetkarev was one of the first to note that the deity Kugorik and his wife serve as such a character in Mari mythology. Kugorik teaches the Mari hunters how to forge iron, grow grain, and introduces them to the hammer, shovel, and other essential household tools. Kugarak's wife invents the bow and arrow and teaches women to weave, dance, and play musical instruments. As he goes to his grave, Kugorik promises to return to his people to protect them from enemies. Poltish, the legendary prince of the Mari, is buried in a boat along with his treasures. Here Kugorik and Poltish resemble the Komi Permyk Kudim Osh, the Karelian Finnish Ilmarinen, the Mordovian Chom Pa and Tyishtyan, the Obugrik Ekva Pyrish. In some cases, the taming of fire, mastering the art of cooking, and brewing beer are attributed to the corresponding deity himself. Pantheon. According to some researchers, the rise of Kugo Yamo is a later phenomenon. Initially, the Mari worshipped tribal gods close to them, such as Kugorik and Vodas, who, in turn, had a coterie of subordinate lesser gods and spirits. A separate cult was the water deity Kuga Yamsho, who occupied, overall, a lower status than Kugorik and Vodas. The later rise of Kugo Yamo is also indicated by the fact that he had a Tukim Sholujo Kugo Yamo, that is, a cousin of the great god. With the development of productive forms of economy among the Mari, primarily agriculture and livestock breeding, the heavenly god Kuga Yamo came to the fore. He began to be portrayed as a prosperous, wealthy farmer with a large herd of livestock. Initially, the god had no connection with humans, so they were unaware of him. The link between the god and humans was his daughter, Human Udir. The higher gods surrounding the supreme god included Tun Yumo, the god in charge of celestial affairs in the universe; Oshkesh Kuga Yumo, the god of the sun and light; Kava Yumo, the god of the sky and firmament; and Mer Kuga Yumo, the god and patron of the people. Volgench Yumo, the god of lightning, was also highly revered. Vyad Ava, the goddess of water, was revered as the keeper of knowledge. Tul Ava, the goddess of fire, was the intercessor of people and gods, the transmitter of their requests to Kugo Yumo. However, alongside the veneration of Mland Ava, the goddess of the earth, the ancient deities of the forest and wild nature, Kojla and Chodra Ava, retained their significance. The Mari goddesses show a particular affinity with the Mordvin goddesses. Thus, the Mari Mlanda Avenue corresponds to Maud Avenue, Vyad Avenue to Vedshi Avenue, Tul Avenue to Tul Avenue, Mardesh Avenue to Varma Avenue, Chodra Avenue to Veer Avenue, Nur Avenue to Norov Avenue, etc. In 1770, N.P. Richkov compiled a short list of 18 gods and goddesses of the Mari pantheon. Among the principal deities, he listed Yumo, Kugo Yumo, Pursho Yumo, Azrika, Kudercho Yumo, and Piambura. In his work, Description of All Peoples Inhabiting the Russian State, I.G. Georgi made the first attempt to understand the hierarchy of the Mari gods. Particularly significant and fruitful is his idea that the Cheremis celestials are the children or relatives of Kogo Yuma and Yuman Abba. Among the most important gods, V.M. Cheremshansky names Kugo Yumo, the supreme god; Pursho Yumo, the god of heaven; Kudircho Yumo, the god of thunder, the thunderer; Umish Ava, the mother of life; Malyande Ava, the mother of earth; Shakan Ava, the mother of birth; Kesh Ava, the mother of the sun; and Mardesh Ava, the mother of wind. Among the lesser mythological figures, he mentions the spirit of springs, Yamshiner, who dwells in the deep forests; Odir Pamasha, the spirit of the earth's depths, the lord of the mountains; and Kudo Vidish, the guardian of the home. G. Yakovlev provided a list of over 200 Cheremis gods and Kerameti. The author focused particularly on the goddess Kava, also highlighting the deity Kyurtno Jumo, the creator of metals. V.I. Filonenko observed that Shochekcho Ava is the mother of Plembar. The scholar also pointed to the exclusively female cult of the sun goddess Kashava and noted that the sky goddess Kava lives separately from the other gods. Mythological images and motifs in folk poetry and epics. Mari mythological beliefs are reflected in folk ritual songs, the so-called priest songs, Kart Vlak Muro. They were performed by Kartas, servants of Mari pagan cults, during prayers. In these songs, reminiscent of ancient prayers and incantations, the priests appealed to the gods to grant them a good life and protection from evil. The archaic nature of this type of song is evidenced by the images of ancient deities mentioned in the texts: Piambar, Kinde Ava, Umanudir, Yumo Koltaimo Mukshava, and others. Some heroes of the Mari epic are mythical in origin: Kugorik, Tyakon Shur, etc. For example, Kugorik was considered not only a hero of the Mari, but also a deity, a spirit. Mythical creatures, artifacts, heroes. Shem Kishki, black snake, a monster that lives in the underworld. Turni is a three-headed dragon, the ruler of the swamp and a kidnapper of girls. Onar is a prehistoric giant who uproots trees. Sometimes he is the son of the god Jumo. The Ovda is a forest creature, depicted as a beautiful naked girl or woman with black hair. Sometimes, Ovdas were seen as winged giantesses or monsters with disheveled hair and long breasts draped over their shoulders. The Ovda is also a representative of a mythical small people who lived between the Vetluga and Vyaka rivers before the arrival of the Mari. Kuchkais is a giant eagle who made a nest in the underworld and fights the serpent Azhdega. Kernais Piy is a kite dog. Viltak is the son of a mare, a hero of a Mari fairy tale along with Tilchak and Ketchamish. Shirtnyo Ludo is a fetish floating in a vat of honey and is the source of Akpatar's military strength. Yuzo Esh, magical self-propelled skis of Pegane, Poltish and Tyakon Shira. Yuzo Kerde is a wonderful sword forged for you and I from the jewelry of kidnapped girls and tempered by the tears of their mothers. Nemda is a collective image of a Mari hero, ready to come to the aid of people even after his death. Aaron Patter is a culture hero. He taught the Mari to fight with a sling. Altibe, Ursa, and Yamshan are legendary leaders of the Malmise Mari, cultural heroes who taught their compatriots how to clear fields for crops. Vejani is an old hunter with incredible luck. Tyakan Shur is a legendary prince who ruled the Vyaka Mari. Akmazek is the successor of Tyakan Shira. Unavi is the daughter of Tyakan Shira. Savi is a heroic girl, the daughter of the leader of the Odo Kulmes and the bride of Shuat. Uani is a brave hunter, winner of the tournament. Poltish is a legendary military leader of the Malmise Mari. The dog-nosed ones were mythical creatures, cannibals with dog-like noses. They lived in the dense forests beyond the Vyaka River. Targaitish are the spirits of the dead. Mujo is an evil spirit of disease. Tashtyan are the spirits of ancestors. Literature.